Good evening, Canby, and welcome to the Canby Urban Renewal Agency special meeting of September 21st, 2016. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Next up, we have citizen input. Do we have any citizens that want to input tonight? I see heads shaking. No. Okay. Not even our lawyer. Wow. Very good. Kim, do we have community announcements?
Just that the chambers will be on October 19th.
On October 19th.
October 5th one will be in the current council chambers.
Very good. And Rick, would you mind reminding us of the soft open days?
Soft open days for the library are beginning April. Excuse me, April. I'm sorry. April. Would be nice. I don't know where that came from. October 8th, that's a Saturday. They'll be open October 8th and 9th. They'll be closed on the 10th, okay. And then they'll for in-house training, and then they'll resume the soft opening on the 11th, with the grand opening occurring on the 15th. Our office is administrative office. Finance, planning, on the, you help me with this, Kim?
Next Thursday and Friday.
Friday, and we will be open for business the following Monday with kind of a skeleton crew as we continue to unpack and get situated. So that would be the 3rd, that would be our first kind of open day, but not really functioning at 100% yet.
So next Thursday and Friday, offices are closed.
Yes.
Are the phones open, or are they closed as well?
We have made provision to handle phone calls. They'll be handled through the Public Works Department.
Oh, very good.
So Rhonda has agreed to help us out there to make sure that we do have a line of communication open, and where we have emergencies, we have the ability to take care of those.
Is in person.
Not in person.
Until Monday.
So, exactly.
All right. Thank you. Good news. Exciting times. The building's starting to get the move going and open. Next up, we have the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda, which include the minutes from the August 3rd, 2016 URD agency special meeting.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Chair Hodson, seconded by Commissioner Hensley, to approve the minutes of the August 3rd, 2016 URD agency special meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Next up, we have resolutions and ordinances. Kim.
The first item we have is Resolution URA 002. This is from the city of Canby.
Yes, this is the second part of a process that you initiated on September 2nd, sitting as a city council. On September 7th, you identified specific property on this block as no longer required to support city services, and authorized us to initiate a transfer process. The second part would take that to the next step with the Urban Renewal Agency accepting the property from the city. Just to recap, those properties are tax lot 6300, which is 11 West 2nd Avenue Planning Department, Finance Department. We have 2 properties that are associated with the I'm sorry, 122 North Holly is the police department building. We have 2 properties associated with finance at 133 Northwest 2nd Avenue. One of those properties is the finance building proper and the land it sits on. The other is the excuse me, is the parking lot behind the finance department that is traditionally used for excuse me, for transit bus parking. And then the final is 122 North Holly, which our current city hall is located. Staff recommendation is to approve the resolution as presented.
Does anyone have any questions for the administrator? Everyone understand what we're up to tonight? Kim, on the motion itself, you do not need the property location details, right? Okay, very good. So I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we adopt Resolution URR 16-002, authorizing the acceptance of real property located in the Canby downtown core from the city of Canby.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Hensley, seconded by Vice Chair Hodson to approve Resolution URR 16-002, authorizing the acceptance of real property located in the Canby downtown core from the city of Canby. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it carries 7-0. Kim?
The next item we have is Resolution URR 16-003. This is approving a minor amendment to the Canby Urban Renewal Plan to add projects and properties to the plan to accommodate civic block redevelopment.
So before you today, you have a resolution as well as a revised urban renewal plan. This is one of several steps that Rick had mentioned to facilitate Hamlin development. The specific changes we're asking for today is, of course, to add the 5 properties list of properties in references to the previous library and retrofit of City Hall and council chambers, because that's no longer a vision. And we would like to add language that encourages partnering with the private sector, encouraging redevelopment and reinvestment in public buildings for commercial use. And then finally, to add the quiet zone specifically as a project. It's always been there in reference, but it's very important to this particular project, as you can imagine, with 69 apartments right near the railroad tracks. So what we've done is laid out the specific sections of the urban renewal plan for you to look at. And with that, I'd encourage you to adopt the resolution and the updated plan.
Barry Elsner, our Urban Renewal Council, for their review.
Great.
And as a reminder, Rick, while the area that we're talking about, the real estate itself, is within the urban renewal district, we have to be very specific in the urban renewal plan as to what we want to do.
Yeah, both relating to the project type, because the plan has to delineate and specify a particular project with some specificity, and as it relates to properties that we are contemplating the acquisition of, we, the Urban Renewal Agency.
Anyone have any questions?
So the railroad cluster, how does that affect? Right. If you need to specifically itemize projects in the urban renewal plan to be able to allocate resources to them, and we've mentioned transportation access and those kinds of things where the quiet zone could have fit, but since it's particularly important to the Hanlon development as well as other businesses downtown, we thought since we were updating the plan anyway, let's add that one since it's important to the Hanlon development specifically.
And I need to take some responsibility for this, because this is the quiet zone should have been a project within the urban renewal plan. Over the last couple of years since I've been here, we did not make that plan update, and so it should have been in there whether the Hanlon project was moving forward or not. It is even more important now that it moved forward, and so I want to express my appreciation to Renata for catching the fact that although we continuously talk about the quiet zone as an urban renewal project, we had never formally specified it in the urban renewal plan. So thank you.
Clint?
I was just going to ask, would the quiet zone range from Elm to Ivy? Is that kind of the target area?
Well, the project is envisioned from Ivy, yes, exactly, from Ivy to Elm, and we do have some good news along that. We are working successfully enough. We're hoping for a significant portion of the project. We're hoping to hear fairly soon whether that's successful.
And they have agreed, at least tentatively, to accept the project for engineering and design. and that's important. And then, obviously, next comes any right-of-way acquisition that would be required of the project. And then I believe that they'll initiate and manage the construction portion of it as well once funding has been identified. We're fortunate to have a strong state representative supporting the city's effort to acquire the quiet zone. And I'm trying to think.
Bobby, he's with Corral Federal and State agencies and move them forward in a positive direction. He's doing a great job for Canby.
In a positive direction.
Positive.
Oh, okay.
Positive direction.
He's been very, very proactive in supporting our efforts.
Very good. That's wonderful.
May I ask a question? Before we decide to move it to the urban renewal list, the railroad quiet zone, how were we proposing to fund it, or which list was it on back before?
It's always been proposed to fund from urban renewal, but we've never taken the technical step because the discussion it's within our urban renewal boundaries. Discussion has always been to make it a part of the urban renewal plan, but we had never taken the formal step required to a particular project. And so we're just formalizing something that has been informally understood for a period of time. And again, Renata picked up that fact and brought it forward, and so we were able to make that change this time around.
We've always had it kind of as a line item on our budget for the URA,
But we had to formalize
wasn't
it
in the plan.
with an addition to the plan.
officially in the plan, which to do it, we would have to put it in the plan.
While we're talking about Renata, I would like to announce to everybody, and I'll get the title wrong, and so please correct me, Renata, but Renata has been selected the Economic Development Director of the Year by her association.
Wow. Very good.
Very good.
So now we have a Main Street Manager of the Year,
Yep.
Economic Development Director of the Year. This is kind of putting pressure on the other departments.
I tell
Raise
you
the
what,
bar over there.
it is a high bar.
Well deserved.
Very good, Renata.
I figure if it gets high enough, it can scoot underneath.
Very good. Does anyone have any other questions on this matter?
Mr. Chair, I move we adopt resolution URR 16-003 approving a minor amendment to the Canby Urban Renewal Plan to add projects and properties to the plan to the civic block redevelopment.
Seconded by Commissioner Height to approve URR 16-003, approving a minor amendment to the Canby Urban Renewal Plan to add projects and properties to the plan to accommodate civic block redevelopment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it carries 7-0. Kim?
The next item is Resolution URR 16-004. This is authorizing a transfer of appropriations from contingency to materials and services contract and Wade Park line items in the Urban Renewal General Fund.
Yes, and there are two components to this, and first I'll speak to the Wake Park $6,500 request. At Wade Park that we've been talking about from, I think, the week that I arrived, and that is retrofitting with steel posts the gazebo so that those wood posts that support the roof structure, which rot out every few years, will have permanence as steel posts. We did some working with Jeff and Ben and our parks staff. We began to look at this several weeks ago. The catalyst for it was actually something that happened several weeks before that, and that was an inquiry from the Arts Association, who $50 grant from the Mount Hood Territory 2016 Community Partnership. And that $650 grant was for the purpose of repainting and making the gazebo look really nice. When we looked at the gazebo and realized that we had foundation of parts of it were literally rotting. It didn't make a lot of sense to do something temporary, and so we reached out to the granting agency, Mount Hood Territory, and were able to solicit from this agency to funds, because but they're holding the funds in account for the city of Canby, and will transfer the $650 back to us to do painting and whatever else needs to be done as we proceed through the renovations to the gazebo. What in fact would happen if you authorize this transfer is that we've already contacted a fabricator and a welder who has a design concept that will look really nice, and we will in fact be welding these, they're 5x5 steel posts into the structure itself, and which place we have to put on the side because that the current post occupies. So we have a design for that that's going to, I think, really improve the quality and style of the gazebo. And I know that whenever my parks crew is excited about something, it means it's really good, because they're very particular about their parks, and they were excited about this prospect. So the first request is the $6,500 will allow us to purchase the posts and pay for the installation, the welder to come in and a certified welder to come in and do the installation, working with our parks crew as we remove each individually over a couple of days. The second request is for $40,000 to support our ongoing efforts to move this downtown project forward. And what I learned over the last 6 months is that I don't have the time or the technical expertise to manage this thing from start to finish. We have been and will continue to need to seek legal support from Barry Elsner, our urban renewal attorneys, and John Southgate, who is providing consulting services to us from an economic development perspective. So my request to you in this that need. Now, I say that I don't have the expertise or the time, but I will tell you that we are developing each of the contracts and each of the documents and in a draft final form before we're sending them forward to legal. So we had a roughly 70-page development and disposition agreement that we collaborated on internally and then sent to our legal for their review, came back to us. We collaborated, made more changes, and then sent it to the developer for their review. So we're doing, spending a tremendous amount of time. I probably spend 20% of my time each week now at a minimum working on this project. More than 20%. For a total of $46,500, $40,000 for legal and consulting services for this downtown project, and $6,500 for Way Park.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, thanks. Question, Rick, you mentioned the development disposition agreement. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that entails?
It's similar to a purchase contract, only with a great deal more detail. And essentially what it does is it sets a development disposition agreement, sets out the expectations for both parties to a contract in a complex development such as this one, because we have legal. The developer has certain expectations of us, and all of those have to be spelled out with steps in place to address any deficiencies on either part. So there are whole sections relating to what the city's responsibilities are, whole sections related to what the developer's responsibilities are, and then whole sections related to what happens if either party fails to meet their obligations. The underlying objective is to provide a level of protection to both parties in the case of either party's default. And to go back to a question that was asked a couple weeks ago, what happens if under the terms of the Development Disposition Agreement, which you will hear me refer to as a DDA periodically, because I tend to stumble over development and disposition. The DDA, there are some very strong clawback provisions associated with the city's rights as the owner of the property, and there are expectations relative to the developer's rights as the developer of the property.
That does. Thank you.
Commissioner Parker, you and myself and the mayor have had some conversations recently about how to best protect and leverage our administrative bandwidth. I would like to say, and hope you agree, that I think this is really protect that bandwidth.
I thank you. Part of what we have here in Canby is the capacity to run a city. But by keeping our staff lean, we also have to be flexible enough to be able to bring in outside help for special projects. And I was trying to compute what $40,000 was of $10 million, but we're spending a fraction here just to make sure it's done right and that we don't burn you out. I don't want the lights to dim as we're trying to do this thing. And secondly, I want somebody. There are unexpected things that come along, and we need you to run the city and not put out fires. So I am thrilled that we are doing this, and especially the economic development consultant. You had me at him, so let's do this.
Very good. And this is coming out of cash contingency?
It is coming out of urban renewal contingency, yes.
Yes. Any other questions? Tracy?
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, how much is in there, the contingency fund? Does anybody know?
A little over $900,000.
Okay.
Any further questions? Discussion?
The agenda in front of me. I will borrow yours here. Mr. Chair, I move approval of URR 16-004, authorizing transfer of appropriations from contingency to the materials and services contract and Wake Park line items in the Urban Renewal General Fund.
Second.
And Tracy, second. All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Parker, seconded by Commissioner Hensley to approve URR 16-004, a resolution authorizing transfer of appropriations from contingency to the materials and services contract and Wake Park line items in the Urban Renewal General Fund. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries 7-0. The agency tonight.
No, I would just like to again express my appreciation to the Canby Arts Association for the construction of the gazebo was really a brainchild of the Canby Arts Association. Many, like 30 years, I don't even know, a long, long time ago. And they endeavor always to maintain a pristine gazebo, and I just really want to express my heartfelt thanks to them for keeping this very, very special part of Canby kind of at the forefront of all of our thoughts. And this is an important project for me. It's one of the ones that I had on my to-do list for the time that I came in, so it's important to me, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No further items then? All righty. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Chair Hodson and seconded by Commissioner Hensley to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, Canby. Stay tuned. In exactly 32 minutes, City Council will commence. We'll see you then. Good night.
They will, yeah.
They
Yeah, interview and,
I wonder if Irene
probably not on the outside. Although it could be. I'll be involved from the building perspective. I'm running, trying to think of, gosh, what's her name? Starts with an L.
I'm just playing the angles.
Anyway, Laura Sattler has been, they developed different concepts, and she has brought them into the office and says, these are the ones that we like. Are you okay with that? You know, each time it's been, yeah, they look great. So so they're moving in a direction. They have a design concept, and it's consistent. And I told them what we really want to do is feature children and learn. So focus on those as themes, and then build something. So they're thinking of maybe a learning tree and some other aspects associated with it to pull it all together.
Interesting. I haven't checked out the Oregon City's libraries art. Have they installed theirs yet?
You know, I think that they may have. I know they had a much larger art budget than we did.
Like 10%.
Yeah.
Like apparently they squirreled it away.
Yeah, that's really good.
Like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, so we'll have an opportunity to do more. I'd like to do some in the plaza over the next several years to really start making a kind of neat space. And we have an opportunity. We'll have the tree planters in the plaza by the end of the year, end of the fiscal year, and I'd really like to do something like in between the planters, something that has some substance and is subject matter specific. So, but that'll be in the years ahead. So I think it'll be nice. And I asked him to stay with metal because we don't want something that's a high maintenance item on the front of the building. So it'll be metal, and most likely metal or something that's, whatever it is, it has to be relatively low maintenance, so it doesn't have to be repainted. So something you can get a patina, an iron that rusts, copper, and whatever brass does the same thing. So there are a lot of mediums that they could use that would accomplish the same thing, but not require a great deal of ongoing annual maintenance.
You can still paint. I mean, it can still be
Yeah,
striped.
paint would be fine.
So there's that.
Yeah,
We're good with the paint. Just the metal.
paint it on metal because it can rust, but it can't. And what would be really nice is if they wanted to use colors, is to powder coat, because that has a permanence and it seals the metal, so and you can get bright, vibrant colors with it, and yet have a permanent seal, a relatively permanent seal. And we're just like 9 inches. I mean,
The day job. The day job.
Me too, with my mom and everything. I'm like,
Yeah, is your mom okay?
Just to get it from you. Okay.
yeah, it's all signed.
right now, this loan here, the
Yeah.
You're not tech quick. Good job.
I don't think I have anything to do on this next agenda, do I?
Not really, Rick.
clear. How'd you rain?
If no bona fide hires come, then there's other avenues.
All right, I think we're good.
Okay, no, I'm not giving excuses, I'm just kind of laying out the process.
This family,
Yeah, I was over at in the chambers. Today's Wednesday, Monday, just checking out the power.
That's a problem.
Yeah, clean,
And
really clean.
yeah, tonight's got to be go in,
would bet
drop stuff, get swag on before I grab something to eat.
$1.5 million more.
Head up to the office and
got a
just
phone call
crank because I got to
from a
clean
guy
stuff
who
ready,
owns a building in
taken care of and going. And
70,000 square feet.
love you kids.
Leases it to the forestry department, wants to expand it to 34,000 total size. He called, when I was supposed to look at it, and he said, well, sure. And he said,
Rick's
I think
bet
he
in the pool is
says, I've been on the phone for 2 hours calling contractors. To even talk to them. Most of them saying,
Included 45.
5-10 million more. No, it's just like,
That's his general.
which is good for us. More money.
For a lot more money.
A lot more. Our number, we were bidding in 08, 09. We dropped down by 8% overhead profit. We're shooting 12, 13 plus burying money in general conditions still. I mean, it's just, I bet we can go more.
But yeah, I know you can.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
The Belgian chief or the Thai chief?
Ooh, good question.
All right, you're gonna have to ask him.
Well, you're getting killed though with subs, though, aren't you?
Yes, sir. You're getting killed with subs. Their prices are going up, but not. I know it's not crazy.
When I did my tour, I
You
did
kinda see
ask
what we build
if
stuff for and
I
kinda
had
what it
one.
costs.
I don't have
It's
one.
not too bad. The hard part with
that's
subs
okay.
is trying to get people.
One conference room is, I mean, if
Called
you
to say,
sit
hey,
just
look,
right,
we're
you
not
guys
getting until
on a
late
clear
afternoon.
morning,
All our
it's a
estimators,
straight shot to
put them on a
the
tool belt to be able
So
to.
there could be a few mornings where I might be having to go have a cup of coffee and sit there and
It's
watch
like
the sun
that up
come
there
up.
right now. It's just, it's unbelievable.
It's crazy. This project, this downtown.
Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the Canby City Council meeting, September 21st, 2016. Could you please stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Lord, thank you so much for the city, the leaders that are gathered here on the dais, at home, and in the crowd here this evening. So many things to be thankful for. The leadership. Thank you for this great community. Thank you for we ask for special prayers for the communities just that seem to continue to end up in turmoil. Tulsa and Charlotte right now, please, we lift up those cities to you. Please watch over us in the coming weeks and months, and we ask these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Please be seated. All right, we've got a couple of proclamations this evening. The first one is for it's coming up. So, whereas the first responders risk their safety and personal property on a daily basis in the execution of their duty to protect the public. And whereas the first responders are the first line of defense for the public against threats, both domestic and foreign. And whereas first responders stand ready 24 hours per day to come to the aid of citizens of the United States of America. And whereas first responders are a vital part of our communities, not only responding to emergencies, but also volunteering in our schools and community organizations. And whereas first responders who are volunteers or employees of agencies that provide public safety services, including policing, fire protection, emergency services and search and rescue services come together during emergencies to now, therefore, Watson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Canby, do hereby proclaim September 27th, 2016 as First Responder Appreciation Day in the city of Canby and urge all those in the city of Canby to support and promote this observance. Given unto my hand this 21st day of September 2016 in the city of Canby, Oregon. And we have Fire Marshal and Division Chief Todd Gary, and I believe Chief Smith snuck in. So gentlemen, I have one for each of you. Men of few words, apparently. The second proclamation is regarding Distraction-Free Driving Awareness Day. This was actually yesterday and came to me in between our meetings, and I thought it seems to be a pretty big issue these days. I had a family incident where a family member decided to take a quick glance down at their cell phone and ended up rearing a F-150 pickup truck that was lifted and ended up totaling their car. So it's a big issue. I know our police bat it often, and I had my guilty over once for being on a cell phone years ago, but it's a pretty big issue. So I will read this proclamation. So Distraction-Free Driving Awareness Day, whereas Oregon cities hold the health and safety of their citizens as a paramount concern, and whereas distracted driving occurs when drivers engage in activities that divert their attention from the road and their primary task of driving, such as texting, talking on a cell phone, interacting with passengers, listening to loud music, and reading. And whereas smartphone use, because it distracts drivers' visual, mental, and cognitive abilities, and whereas 60% of Oregons use a smartphone, and whereas 70% of Americans admit to using their smartphone while driving to text, check email, access social media, and use their photo and video tools. And whereas the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reports that each day more than 9 people are killed and over 1,060 people are injured in crashes that are reported to involve a distracted driver in the U.S. And whereas the Oregon Department of Transportation reports that a crash involving a distracted driver in Oregon occurs every 2.5 hours. And whereas the Oregon legislature has taken several recent steps to prohibit and discourage the use of handheld devices while driving, such as the passing of 2009 House Bill 3186, 2011 was House Bill 3186, and then again in 2013 Senate Bill 9. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hodson, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Canby, do hereby proclaim yesterday, September 20th, 2016, as Distraction-Free Driving Awareness Day in the city of Canby, and urge all those in Canby and area to support and promote this observance. Given on my hand this 21st day of September 2016. So, thank you, Kim, for preparing that. I appreciate it. Okay. Next up on our agenda, we have a swearing in of a new police officer. Joe?
Yeah, it would be my pleasure to call up Maria Campos as well as Chief Smith. And so
today I'd like to welcome Officer Maria Campos. She's one of our newest hires. We actually have one more down at the academy, but we hired her on May 2nd, 2016. She just recently finished her training at the DPSSD Academy. She's currently working night shift with Training Officer Kyle Perpica. So you may not see her right away unless you're running around in the middle of the night. Joins today with Maria is quite a few family and friends, and so I'm going to ask her to introduce some of those for us.
Let's start with my father, who's right, Hector, and then on my left is my mother, Beth. And then Dave Rash from Milwaukee. sister Melissa, who is an active police cadet with the Milwaukee Police Department. And then Casey, my brother's girlfriend. Hector, who's a full-time officer with Milwaukee Police Department. And then Kenny, who is also a full-time officer with Milwaukee. My brother George and his family. And Crystal, who is also a full-time officer or detective at Milwaukee Police Department.
Thank you guys all for coming. So, Maria comes from very supportive, and all involved or have been participating in some kind of sport, including football, softball, soccer, and basketball. And despite everyone's busy schedule, one of the most important things that she wanted to communicate was that the family really dedicates one night a week for family night dinners. And I thought that was pretty cool. Maria is a graduate of Gladstone High School in June of 2012. And while in high school, she participated in the Honor Society and was involved in numerous community service events. After high school, she attended Clackamas Community College and worked at a physical therapy clinic at the same time, and volunteered at that time as a police cadet for Milwaukee Police Department. While attending Clackamas Community College, she earned an Associate of Arts transfer degree and where she was pursuing her bachelor's degree. She was hired for that position September 10th of 2015. When I asked Maria why she wanted to work as a police officer and why Canby, she said, "I selected Canby as a place to work because I admire small towns." She said she's familiar with Canby, and she explained that she grew up coming to Canby quite a bit while she participated in soccer events. She said she looks forward to introducing herself and meeting our citizens. She said she's interested in law enforcement because the work is different every day. She enjoys problem solving and working as a team to achieve a goal. And she enjoys being involved in the community, and one of her goals is she is hopeful that wherever she can and finding she'll be able to receive care and resources that will help people and impact their lives in a positive way. As I briefly mentioned, Maria just attended 16 weeks at the Police Academy, and she graduated on September 9th in Basic Police Class Academy 360. And currently, again, she's scheduled on nights, and so I want to make sure we give her a warm welcome, and I'm sure we'll see great things from her as she continues to work with us. And so we'll go ahead and proceed with the swearing-in portion at this time. So we can do the paper signing here.
And if family members, if you want to come up and take photos, you are more than welcome to do that.
And so at this point, if you want to raise either hand, and I'll have you together.
Come on, family members, come on forward if you need to get a better shot.
If you want. I, Maria Campos,
I'm Maria Campus,
being first duly sworn, depose and say that I will support and uphold the constitutions of the United States and the state of Oregon, and the charter and the ordinances of the city of Canby, remaining in compliance with the professional standards established by values and professional code of ethics, department policies and directives, and will faithfully perform the duties of police officer for the city of Canby, Oregon, to the best of my ability. There's those for you to sign. That's one sentence.
Yeah, great.
What's funny?
So our last part of the ceremony is I'm going to have Maria's father come up, and I'll let him bring it back. Maria had asked her for Jack to do that. Very appropriate. That started here for you. Anybody have anything you'd like to say?
Congratulations and welcome. to Canby.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Maria, we're very happy to have you here. When I came on the council 6 years ago, one of the things that I wanted was a police force that looked like our community. 22% of my constituents come out of a Hispanic heritage. We were lucky. Officer Stephanie Ford, and we're even here yourself to bringing us a diverse police force, and you've done it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and excuse ourselves. And,
Yes. Unless you guys want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome to.
All these folks from Milwaukee, it's only one folder.
While they're getting themselves situated there, the Cahoot crew wanted to get up here and.
You all set?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. We are Canby Disposal, Post Office Box 550, Canby, Oregon 97013. Tonight we're here to make a presentation to you. We're not asking for any action other than input from you with respect to the spring cleanup program and our suggestion of a possible change to that program. We've got a PowerPoint presentation for you. We'll be crisp. I know your agenda is full tonight, so here we go. On my right is Andy Cahoot, General Manager of Canby Disposal. On my left is Ray Cahoot, Operations Manager. And MMA wrestler, I think. Tonight we'll talk about the history of the spring cleanup program in the city, pros and cons of the current program. So he's been briefed, and he might have even talked to you folks about it a bit. And I think, Mayor, you might have even been aware of what we're talking about here. So there's some knowledge of this, what we're talking about. And we'll come back with a recommendation, our recommendation for you to consider. And then if there's next steps, how you want to proceed, we'll bring that back to you. So the current spring cleanup program is a one-day curbside event that you're all familiar with. On your garbage day in the spring, you're allowed to do the large, bulky items, and it's been in process here in the city for over 20 years when their dad started the program here. The costs of the program have been increasing dramatically over the last 5 years, and we're going to show you some cost figures, and these guys can give some input as to what we think is going on. Just to give you a thumbnail here, in 2010, the cost for the total program in that 1 week was $21,834. This year it costs $53,000. So the slope of the line is getting to be unsustainable. Just by way of comparison, Canby's estimated 2015 population based on the census is 17,271 people, and it costs $53,000. By comparison, our West Lynn franchise has a population almost twice the size of Canby, with a cost just about the same. So what we think is happening here is bulky items and other nasty items that are coming into this curbside program from the county, from the unincorporated areas of the county. And our estimates of population were from, as I say, the census, the American Community Survey. So here's a time series chart of where the costs have gone, and I want you to take a look at the slope of this line. Like I said, $21,000 in 2010, $53,000 now. And for many years, say going 10 years back, it was like $10,000 or $12,000. So there's really a lot going on here. First, garbage used to be pretty cheap to dispose of. Back in the day, disposal fees were $15 a ton. Now they're $100 a ton. So there's a strong incentive for folks. If you can get free, that's a good price, and they like it. And we're giving a signal to them that it's free. So just, this is in your packets. If this is not real legible, let me know. But what we want to talk about here is tires. Tires are a prohibited waste under statute and are not supposed to go in the garbage. They are supposed to be handled in a separate way. And we had 275 tires collected in this last program. That's a lot of tires. Solid waste. One of our biggest problems is, and perhaps it's our fault that we haven't educated carefully, is people not only put out their standard bulky waste, but they put out household hazardous waste, paint, carbon, chemicals, and solids. We can't take that. We can't put it into the landfills. So our guys have been having not only handled the large bulky solid waste, we've got to take the hazardous waste out of there and handle it separately. Labor costs and administrative costs have doubled in the last 5 years. So this is a labor-intensive operation, and the costs have really gone up. And then in 2010, the unit cost per single-family household per month was $23. Here it's now 59 cents. So you can see the scale of what we're talking about here. So the pros and cons of the current program. First, the pros. The program is very popular. It's highly subscribed by people that don't live in Canby, frankly. The city, and as I said, that's a really good price, and it's done in one day. So people know it, and I think these guys have been telling us with the advent of social media and Facebook and things, when this program gets noticed and everybody in town knows it's coming, it gets on Facebook, and everybody and their brother knows it's coming. And we've set up a website. I sent it to Rick. Perhaps Rick could give you the link. We've seen some Facebook grabs where people are actually offering or requesting to get rented space at the curbside. I'll pay you money if I can put my garbage at your house. Wow. It's the new world we live in. Now, the cons. It's extremely cost under the current configuration, is just getting on a record space. Prohibited wastes are being left out of the pickup, and scavengers. We're going to have some photographs here of the circus comes to town during the cleanup week, and then our crews are out on your streets till 10:30 at night. You don't want big garbage trucks on your streets in April at 10:30 at night. It's not safe and it's not good. And then trash and hazardous waste is spilling into the right-of-way. We try as we best to get it out of there, but paint and solvents and other bad stuff is on your streets, and you don't want that stuff in your streets for a full week, potentially. So here's the photographs, and once again, I really suggest that you look at the website. These are and you see this pickup truck in the middle of that white little pickup truck. When you go to the website, it'll give you better scale. I don't know how that guy's driving down the street with all that stuff in there. I mean, it's spilling all over the place. You look in the upper northwest quadrant, there's a SUV with a flatbed trailer that's frankly unsafe. They're picking up stuff and they're motoring down the street. It could fall off and hurt people. In the upper right or northeast quadrant, there's a small SUV with a family that's picking through the garbage at the street. It's pretty remarkable. And then Mutt and Jeff in the lower right-hand corner here, you've got to look at that on the website. It's hilarious. The guy on the bicycle with the blue shirt's got a mirror in his hand, and he's got around his neck, that's a dryer vent hose around his neck. He's got like a necklace. It's something. So, alternatives that we suggest you consider, the status quo. If you want continue the current 1 day per year curbside collection model with restrictions on hazardous waste and prohibited wastes. And 2, the drop-off event. And this is an interesting one. It's pretty much done in other communities as a sort of an NGO, non-government organization sort of thing. But you could revert to that 1 day per year drop-off. The dark side of the drop-off program is you can't put washer and dryer onto a cord and bring it to the drop-off event. So it's kind of getting rid of the bulky stuff is tough with that. So what you would like you to consider is a hybrid event where we combine the 1 day per year community drop-off event with a personalized 1 time per year voucher program. So you get a voucher from us, or a right, as it were, that any time during the year you call us, we'll come pick up your bulky items on your garbage day. Now the benefit of that is, under the current program, say in February I remodel my kitchen and I've got a couple of old appliances. I'm going to have to keep those in my garage till next April to get them away. Whereas and we think this mix will help us avoid the circus coming to town during this 1 week event that we've got now. Now, our cost estimates for the program. The current program, as you said, $53,000, 59 cents per customer per month, single-family residential customer per month. A drop-off only event is very cost-effective and would drop that down to $13,000 or 15 cents per customer per month. We would like you to consider exploring the opportunity to do the hybrid, and we will work with staff on that. The costs will be higher. It'll be less than it is now, but it's far more manageable than what we're doing now. And I think you're going to find this is dropping your garbage off. You can see we've got Goodwill contribute trailers here. Instead of getting buy your stuff, throw away your stuff, and bring it to us, it's get your stuff and recycle and reuse your stuff through a Goodwill contribute trailer, or Les Schwab tires, or a mobile shredding operation. The thing that we really like is in the lower right quadrant of this picture is you can get your community policing involved in these events. You can get the cops and the firemen there, and it is really well attended. As you can see, the Happy Valley event was a smashing success this year. And if we combine this with the voucher, I think you're going to have a really good participation and a more of a community event. Because right now it is not a sense of any recycling element to the program, and there's no community togetherness to the program. It's put it at the curb and walk away. So, brings annual program costs back in line is our suggestion. Affords customers the opportunity to participate in the drop-off program in the spring. Also gives each customer the opportunity to dispose of bulky items on demand. So that's the end of our presentation. What do you think?
Well, I will say just a couple of things on my end. The scavenger piece I know has been a big issue for years. Around on the same street, and it's been uncommon to take stuff and watching it drive the different circus tents drive around town. I did have the opportunity to do a tour with Ray and Andy, and I tell you, that was an eye-opening. I knew it was an intense day, but to see the liberties that were taken, and the stuff that we saw was just amazing to me, that was being put on the curb, that you guys then either have to not ignore, but circle back and take care of in other ways, or and what that means for your crews. And I know that you made the comment, Ray, about having the temp help that you have to bring on that week is astronomical. So, yeah, it's a huge, and thank you for coming back. Apologize for the snafu at the last meeting, but so thank you for coming back. My question on the voucher program is, can I buy more vouchers?
So the idea with the voucher program, you could use that at any time. You wouldn't actually have a voucher.
Sure.
On your account, and you can use that at any time during the calendar year. If you want, at any time during the year, you can call for an extra pickup for a charge.
Okay.
That's something that's always available.
Okay.
And kind of anecdotally with the current program, we've had cases where the scavengers have actually taken like a child's bicycle. You know, people have their material set out for collection. The child's bicycle might have been there. Bicycles in the store, was mowing his lawn, parked the lawnmower, went to go dump his bag, and it came back to his lawnmower being loaded into the back of the pickup.
Oh, jeez.
So those are some of the challenges that exist with the current program.
You had mentioned in the when we were touring that it's not uncommon for people that the scavengers are getting a little bit more bold and brazen in their approach in terms of going to the sides of people's houses and taking items, and so we definitely have an issue for sure.
We've had customers call with those concerns. We've seen those concerns posted on social media, and those primarily. I mean, I think that's. So one way or another, we need to find a
Yes, sir.
First, my standard question of what are we doing here? I'm not familiar with the franchise language. Do you need our assent to do this?
So this program was started by my father many, many years ago, and we've had a drop-off event in the early 70s. We moved to a collection event, and it has been memorialized within the franchise agreement to provide a cleanup event.
But it doesn't detail.
Specifically,
No.
Okay. So it's heard you're coming to us and asking what we. Well, what I like to try and do on the council is delineate policy from operations, and this sounds like an operational detail. That from a policy standpoint, I want to clean up, and then I'll leave it to the experts to figure out the way it goes. On the event day thing, I volunteered for the chamber shredded day. And you're absolutely right. That does become a bit of a community event. And I can see us bringing in Goodwill, Habitat for Humanity, other organizations.
Lions Club with eyeglasses. I mean, the options are symmetric.
And Weber Consulting here was helping with the computers. So I'm trying to move away from a model of disposal to repurpose and recycle. And finally, you have my complete support on getting rid of the circus. It's a little bit like my personality. It went from amusing to annoying real quickly, and I think we're at a point now where we've got to get rid of it and move to a different model. But I think that's up to you. That's my opinion, Mayor.
And I don't disagree with that as well. And Andy's point about it's been a partnership for a long time, and so we were out touring and this conversation came up. I felt it was worth some dialogue.
I appreciate you guys showing up.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. We definitely would not change the program without this conversation.
Yeah. Terrific.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say I think you've provided tremendous service to the community, and we're very fortunate to have you. And I certainly recognize that this program has been abused, and I'm very comfortable with your recommendations.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for presenting. It's really interesting to see the numbers and get a scope for this. The scavenger thing, I think it's a shame because I wish it could be done well, and it has in the past. It's good for low-income people to come out and get some things that they could use. Like there's a couch. Cool, I could use a couch. It's too bad it's been used to this point we're going, though. The idea of other people coming in from outside, that's a shame too, if people are coming in from outside of Canby and abusing it. And the voucher system will kind of outsmart that. That's the idea.
That's our plan. That's exactly right. We can manage it better. In utilities, as you all know, you have to manage that peak. You design your water systems for peak day demand, your sewer system for wet weather. Well, this is what we're doing here. We're simply trying to manage that peak, and it was a self-imposed peak that we created with this one-day program. Mm-hmm. If we make it on demand, then we can manage those costs and manage what we take in and educate the customer a lot better. Yeah, don't put that paint thinner out because we can't take it, sort of thing.
And to Supervisor Height's comment, and I appreciate you making that comment, the trash, once it reaches the curb, is actually owned by the garbage company. So somebody taking a couch out of a pile and taking it with them is stealing, and it's a theft. The hybrid method that would bring a Goodwill or somebody that could take those reusable resources and put them into productive use through a proper mechanism makes a lot of sense. I'd like to add one comment, and the timing couldn't be any better. We have a quarterly stormwater committee, and one of the major topics of conversation today was household hazardous waste. And commitment I had made to the stormwater committee was that I would have a continuing dialogue with if we move to option 3 about incorporating a household hazardous waste collection site in that one-day community-wide cleanup, a single location
And
community-wide
here's the
cleanup.
dark side of the force, Rick. We work in the metro area a whole bunch, and Metro does household hazardous day cleanup days. These are ungodly expensive. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I think household hazardous waste is measured in thousands of dollars per ton disposed, because it is so difficult to dispose of properly, and the stuff that you get. So, yeah, we got to do it, but we got to be smart about it. And there is a household hazardous waste acceptance area down at the Metro South Trash Station in Oregon City. Canby, and you really got to be committed environmentally to want to do that versus throwing it in the creek.
Well, and that's what is happening. In fact, not throwing it in the creek so much as throwing it in the trash cans that you dumped into the landfill.
Right.
And I mean that's the common disposal method, or even worse, dumping it down the drain and winding up in our wastewater treatment facility. Or dumping it down the storm drain and winding up in our creeks. I mean, those were, and so whatever, and I realize that there are costs associated with it, and maybe we can have that conversation, but I think that there's a larger public policy question associated with, to me, the most significant question that you need to resolve is how we can manage remote from Oregon City, how we can better manage a contaminant that is finding its way into the landfill and is finding its way into our streams and creeks and
Well,
is
you
finding
could always
its way.
annex Oregon City.
I don't think they'd let us. But,
They've got a lower tax rate than us. We don't want that. Their burden.
To the point of tax, certainly a conversation we should have with the DEQ. We are outside of Metro, as we all know, so we can't participate. We don't pay those Metro taxes, although Metro South will allow a Canby resident to drop hazardous material off. But we are paying DEQ fees through our landfill tipping fees. So it's a conversation we can definitely have with the DEQ and hopefully get them out here in partnership with us.
I'd like that conversation. I would be holding out as long as I can until we get some type of agreement on how to address household hazardous waste if we have a single cleanup, centrally located cleanup day. I think that's a conversation we need to have, and I think it's pivotal to the outcome of our larger discussion.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I would also note that the website that they had addressed is at the last page of the handout.
Great. All right. Communications. For city announcements, if you have something that is you want to address the council about or make an announcement on that is a non-agenda item, please fill out a yellow card, which I have one. And Mr. Thomas, you're welcome to come up and address us and speak your mind, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good.
Welcome. Appreciate the time.
Yes.
My name is Tyler Thomas. Live at 2570 North Maple Court here in Canby. Lived here about a year. My family, we love the area. Just have an issue I want to bring before you guys tonight. I'm here to represent. It might be easier if I read this to you first. I'm here to represent not only my family, but 5 of my neighbors in my neighborhood. 3 of them wish to be identified at a later date. necessary. And 2 have told me they do not wish to be identified at any point due to possible retaliation from the issue that we're facing. The issues are serious, and I think they require swift action from the council and from the city. The current issue revolves around Chapter 9-48 of the Canby City Code of Ordinances, which you guys are probably familiar with, is noise control. To brief the city on their own ordinances, I'm sure you guys are well aware of them. There's a house in the neighborhood where a band or a combination of 2 bands play on a regular basis, anywhere between 2 to 4 nights a week. Typical nights have been Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. The hours play to run from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Have been at points as late as 10:45, 11 o'clock. We have curtailed that issue somewhat with the police department enforcing the noise ordinance between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. They've been playing the entire year I've lived in this neighborhood. Many of the neighbors from the neighborhood have informed me they've been playing for years and years with really no resolve to the issue at all. I have an app on my phone where I can measure decibels coming from them. And they play with the door open. The decibel sounds are well over 100 decibels. When the door is closed, they reach over 80 decibels. I'm talking about drums, electric guitar, bass guitar, pretty much any instrument you can imagine. We believe they're in violation of many of the noise ordinances here in the city. I don't think we need to go through them. When you look at it, you'll be able to see which ones they're in violation of. I can give you specifically 9-48-030, 9-48-040, and certain sections of those as well. So what have we done? What have I done? What have my neighbors done to try and resolve the issue? We've met with him. We've politely asked him, hey, can you please close the door? Can you please play quieter? I have a young child. There's elderly people in the neighborhood. It's kind of a mix of different people, different hours of the day. We're not asking you not to play. We're asking you to play in accordance with what the city has. We've met on several occasions with this individual with, yeah, we'll do it, nothing happens. Yeah, we'll do it, they play louder. No, we won't do it, obscenities, get off my property. So we've run that avenue, and we really haven't found a way to resolve it. We've called the police on numerous occasions to come out to the residents, say, hey, can you please enforce the ordinance here? We're having a really hard time getting this guy to cooperate with the neighborhood. It's not a me issue, it's not a them issue, it's a neighborhood issue. Police are telling us, hey, there's nothing we can really do. All we can do is enforce they don't play after 10 p.m. and before 7 a.m. And the reason why they're not able to enforce this is the way the code's currently written. It doesn't include instruments, it doesn't include bands, it includes things like tape players. It doesn't specifically state anything about bands or instruments. I think we're all kind of questioning, well, why is that? Does there need to be a code change possibly? Some of the officers said, hey, you might want to reach out to the code enforcement officer. She might be a better avenue for you to get where you want to go. So I've reached out to her. We've had several discussions. She's combed over the documents and said, hey, you know what? As far as I'm seeing this and what I'm reading, it's virtually an unenforceable noise ordinance because the way it's written, it doesn't include the bands, it doesn't include the instruments. But the decibel portion should be enforceable. However, we can't enforce it because the city of Canby does not have a decibel meter. So we're sitting here at $5 or less in some instances. She advised that since there's nothing she could really do, that I reach out to Councilor Coleman and see what could be done maybe through this avenue. And he invited me to come and speak tonight to discuss it. To try and be unbiased, because I've only spoke to people from Canby, Canby Police, Canby City Council, reached out to a police department of a similar size in Newburgh. I talked to their police chief. I told them the same story we've had here. What would you do in this instance? What would your officers do? How would the issue be handled? He said every patrol car in the city of Newburgh has a decibel reader, so when these calls come in, and they come in frequently, especially weekends, parties, and whatever it might be, they go out, take the reading. If it's over the allowable levels, they tell them to quit playing. It's kind of an easy and shut case versus hey, there's nothing we can do, and the run around, and you get neighbors that aren't happy with you. They think you don't like music, and it has nothing to do with what the real issue is. So what are we asking? My neighbors and I are asking that the city look at the current ordinances and what changes might need to be made so that they can actually be enforced. I think we're also asking that we invest the nominal fee of the $20 or less for each of these decibel readers be put in patrol cars, so when officers have these calls, they don't call the person back and say we can't come because we can't enforce the ordinance. They can actually now come out and do it and be a something we don't want our officers doing. We don't want them spending time on calls like this, but it would be helpful if they could actually come out and enforce it and take care of the issue itself. So I think that's all I have, other than myself and my neighbors asked that you guys take swift action and that something is done soon. I think we're kind of reaching a tipping point here with these individuals and these bands know they can get away with what they're doing, and I think there's other issues, harassment and other things in the neighborhood now that are kind of reaching a tipping point, and we don't want to go any further. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, Tyler, thank you very much for coming and bringing it to our attention. Being a drummer in junior high school, most that's some you would think common courtesy for your neighbors and stop at decent hours at least. My parents forced me to do that as a junior high student. So, Joe, I guess I'll look to you. I think this is probably, if we've got gaps here, then maybe we need to take a look at that.
Yeah, from just the gentleman's statement, I'm interested in apps that might even work on phones. That could be very cheap. I'm interested in these decibel readers that Newburgh uses, if they can fit them in all the cars. So that can be something I discuss with the chief as well as even. The other issue is, our code enforcement right now, she works daylight. You know what I mean? So it sounds like, our officers do have to also be willing and able and out there enforcing it from the hours of 5 to 10. And then the other issue is if the code needs changed, I'll definitely look at that and see about, run it across other different cities and see how theirs read and see if there's little advantageous ways in which we can kind of tweak it. Obviously you're a musician, you understand too. There is First Amendment stuff again, the idea of communication and how noisy you can be and what's noise versus what's. And so, there is a dance there. I appreciate the gentleman's, and I think all code enforcement in the nation would appreciate the way in which you tried to handle it yourself in a neighborly manner. It's kind of unfortunate that you weren't met with a neighborly result. So, and that's exactly when our brand of help should show up. So, I think I'll be the messenger to speak with the police about it and also try to come up with 2 or 3 ways in which we can sharpen up our toolbox when it comes to what seems like unreasonable noise.
And I appreciate that because aside from this issue, since I've been on the council, I think this is we have this issue. We have the it's been put and we had. I think the middle triplex was the one that was, or it was the end one, but it was carrying all the way through to the very end apartment and whatnot. So if there's ways that it has been cost prohibitive, but if there are other ways that we can look into to see if that's something that we can do, that would be advantageous. I think we should look into that. And then, the code piece, I appreciate that.
Okay. And I know that you can enumerate everything that makes noise in the code.
Sure.
But the decibel readers, this has come up before, and I have neighbors in neighborhoods around me that are car enthusiasts, and they like to
rev
their cars and rev them up about 10:30 at night. So it was an issue. I had an app on my phone too, but I was met with this. We don't know how to enforce it because we're in the cars. So I think think
Okay.
that because it's not just music, it's not just cars. There's
Yeah.
it's a decibel level of inappropriate hours that doesn't matter what's making the noise. So I think that's the first thing to look at.
Okay, and so I can appreciate that too. The other thing is, and I don't want to necessarily let this pass either, is you did mention the fear of retaliation. You mentioned maybe that things might get a little more aggressive or whatever, and you with your tipping point idea. And what I do want to say is there is also a statute called disorderly conduct 2, which is actually a crime. And so if things get like fighting or tumultuous or something like that, by all means call the police and report that. So I know it is nice to try to. I want to make sure that message is out there too, because there is fighting and tumultuous behavior is not acceptable in any city at any time. So
thanks for that, Joe. I think it's more of an intimidation.
Okay.
Not that he's intimidating me, but I think that is what he's done to other people in the neighborhood, and I think that's why I'm saying I feel like we're at this tipping point where they can continue to be out of control, and our neighbors are in fear. Like, I can't say anything because if I say something, this guy's going to do something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely. Councilor Coleman.
Mayor, if I could add, I think that, this is very much a growing community. This problem could occur anywhere. So I think in solving this problem, you need to imagine if this was your next door neighbor. I believe we have this necessary to address these kind of problems. And we want to encourage people and neighbors to use the golden rule, treat each other with respect. But we certainly appreciate citizen input, and, we're here to solve problems, and you brought us a doozy. And I think we need to really dig into this, and I would encourage you to not hesitate to call the police. You don't want to have things escalate out of hand, and really keep a good handle on this, and, keep in touch with us. And so I certainly want to see this solved sooner rather than later.
Stop punctually at 10 p.m. Would that solve most of the problem, or is it still the decibel level at the 6 to 7 p.m., the earlier hours?
Yeah, it's the decibel level issue. We don't have an issue with them playing. Certainly stopping at 10 p.m. is ideal for everybody.
Okay.
We're across the street, 3 houses down. We can typically hear them playing over our TV. The doors closed, the windows closed, and it's like thumping. You're a musician. There is a way they could play quieter. I mean, they really could.
There are ways.
Yeah. They could do some soundproofing to the garage. There's a lot of steps they can take. But I think that choosing not to take.
Well, and it is your civic duty to follow the ordinances, even if at the current level our code enforcement doesn't have the adequate instrument to do it. It's on the populace to actually follow all the ordinances. So yes, they should be soundproofing to the point where it's not violating the code. It's up to us when people do then violate the code to go and prosecute it. So, and I'm fine with that, but we'll just make sure we have the right tools and instruments to do it.
Yeah, Joe and I will sit down with the chief next week and get some additional information from him on what tools might be available to better measure the sound volume, and we'll take another look at the ordinance and see what we can do to make it clearer so that horses is more attainable.
Filled out with a whole bunch of computer stuff. And the fact that we don't have this, that we have to hear from a citizen, I think we have a breakdown in our city communication. I should have heard that from our staff, from our police chief, from our city administrator, that we don't have equipment that we need. We fit out those cars, we trick them out. And so it's just nonsense that we don't have that. The second thing is on the parity, and again, I don't know the language in there, but from what you were saying, is that the code really sought to address this type of thing with boom boxes and other things like that, but then didn't continue the chain of logic for other citizens. It's a bigger political lift to write an ordinance that takes something up to a code violation, but we already have that. Here, we're just making parity for other sources of noise. So I appreciate the commitment of our city attorney, and I hope to hear back from you in a couple weeks if nothing happens.
Yeah. No, and as he was saying, in the code itself, it says no person shall knowingly do what they're doing, and they know what they're doing, so they're in violation. It's just, how can an officer go out there and enforce that? You know what I mean? The only way is through the decibel meter reader. And like you said, if we're spending $50,000 on these cars, we're spending $25.
And there may be another on that. I'm just going to say from a policies, and here's where I'm sticking from a policy standpoint, is that A, we want our police to be properly equipped, and that's to be left up to professionals to decide. And then secondly, as Councilor Coleman pointed out, we're a growing community. Some of us are pushing a public housing policy of greater density. And if we don't have the capacity to get bad actors to behave properly, then that's not going to work very well either. So from a policy standpoint, this doesn't make sense. From parity standpoint, and also what we want to be as a community.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, move into mayor's business. A couple of things on my list. First off, just give everyone a heads up there in TV land and those of you here in the audience that the first city council meeting in the new council chambers will be on October 19th for our meeting that day. The October 5th meeting will be in this room still. Won't be totally moved in and won't be quite ready to go, but so the 5th is here, the 19th of October will be in the new building. Historic Review Board, Jeff Hilt's marker setting will be conducting a training on cemetery markers for October. So it'll be about 2 hours before 1 p.m. It's for, we went after a grant request, and so the Historic Review Board completed, or we are in the process of going for a grant request, and the Historic Review Board is committed to cleaning 30 markers, and volunteers are needed. So you will be trained and shown how to do it and take care of our cemeteries, and I think the focus is on Baker Prairie Cemetery, yes. So that'd be great if there's people that can volunteer and help out with that. Thank you, Kim. Let's see, follow my list here. Attended the Canby Big Night Out debrief with Jamie and Councilor Hensley and a couple of the businesses that were involved in the event. And huge help and so many sponsors to help out. But if the camera crew can focus in on the framed picture there behind our city recorder. So that was a Lego project that was completed that evening with Brooks and Minifig, and volunteers were just putting pieces in and creating this picture. And John, the owner of Brooks and Minifig, has donated the picture and the framing to the city to put in the new library. So thank you, John, and for your efforts on that, and all the volunteers that made that a spectacular. To take a tour of the library, and I was a little emotional. It's pretty spectacular. It is. Yeah. They were doing the sound testing for the council chambers when I went in there, and Amanda Zyber, the project manager, and our HR and assistant city manager, she wears a couple of hats, took me around the tour of the library, and the shelving was just going in, and there's space for so many things and space for expansion, and yeah, it was just it's a pretty impressive building. Then got to the upstairs where city's going to be, and office space. And again, I think when all said and done, even with and everyone we have has moved in, Amanda was telling me that we'll have enough space to be able to add, I think, 11 or 12 more positions if the time ever arises before we're even feeling any kind of a crunch. So, yeah. So to reiterate, the library is closed, or right? We are closed? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. So the soft open for the library is going to be October 8th and 9th. We'll be totally closed on the 10th because there's some training and whatnot going on. Then it'll be back open again, kind of soft open, practicing, getting acclimated on the 11th through the 14th. And then on the 15th of October is the opening. So we intend to come all day. So mark your calendars. Division Chief Todd Gary's still here. I want to thank you for the September 11th Remembrance Day. It was well attended, very well done event, and always is a kind of a heart-jerking kind of a day. So thank you for you guys' commitment to continuing that piece. There was every year or every couple of years seems to be more added to the memorial that you have there, and this year an Eagle Scout had completed a walkway, bench to sit on as a reflecting area, and did the landscaping around it and whatnot, and so it's just another nice touch to us. So thank you. I appreciate it. That was beginning in October, is that housing conversation that I brought up last meeting. So we'll be bringing in a panel to discuss what housing is, options and things that are being discussed in that and at a county level. So I'll have more to report on that, and hopefully some of you will be able to make that. The Region 1 Area Commission on Transportation, the last meeting was mostly going over the bylaws and reviewing those. Thank you to the Canby Arts Association, who did a great job with Art in the Park last weekend. It was a great turnout, some great artists and musicians. So I'm looking forward to that being an annual event. And finally, I had a good meeting Monday afternoon with a business that's looking at downtown for an opportunity. So more to come on that. I won't.
Oh, do tell.
I cannot tell. We were signed. We had to sign. What do we have to sign? All sorts of disclosures. Why bring it up? Because I want to tease.
He's cool.
And no, it's not about being cool. It's just about the things that we've been trying to do downtown and what we've been trying to attract, and that there is a lot of interest in our downtown. And I think this business would be a really great fit if it can come together, and all the parties will do what they need to do. So
does it begin with B?
I cannot say. Will not say now. So we play on later. Okay. This concludes my business. We'll start with Councilor Roach for liaison reports.
Thank you. I just have one thing. Parks and Rec meeting was last night, and they had their first survey to go out to ask kind of how the parks are maintained and what people wanted to see. The second part is going to go out now on how people believe it should be funded. And there was 5 options that were originally talked about during the meeting, and they've narrowed it down to 3. So that should be heading out here before too long. That was just last night, so it'll probably be a few weeks before that gets out. But you'll be seeing that. Some decent options. A couple of them were, I don't think, doable. So they killed those 2 and went with 3 other ones. So those it was a pretty cool meeting, so that's all I've got.
Sheriff, you just come.
You did it.
Okay. Well, I
can share.
We're gonna play hide the penny here.
Yeah. The 5 original were funding out of the general fund, a local option levy, a special parks district, fees and charges, and a park maintenance fee. The 2 that were dropped were general fund and fees and charges. The main reason fees and charges were how you can administer that. So the last 3 are local option levy, special park district, and a park maintenance fee. And if I was to guess, park maintenance fee is probably the one that'll be mostly voted on. It's the easiest one, I think. So
okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Councilor Parker.
Well, you took some of the steam out of mine with the Historic Review Board. Let me just thank our Citizens Committee for going. Our Citizens Committees are cool, but they get an extra Coolio badge if they bring in free money. So thank you, Historic Review Board.
I like the free.
And and it really is neat. You're talking about adding the arts event to our growing list of community events. And we have just wanted to put on everyone's calendar, Monday, October 31st is Halloween, and this event keeps growing. And we can use some volunteers and people dressing up and helping with the kiddos. So especially the new library. I think it's going to be fun to it seems in Canby that there's a growing trend for the younger folks, the younger children, to do the downtown tour. I see it growing each year. Tracy, you had your kids go through that. I think they were participating at least one year, and I know Councillor Hensley as well. So just to keep that on the mind, that our next community event is downtown trick or treat.
Great, thank you, sir. Councillor Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I likewise attended the Big Night Out briefing, but you've pretty well covered that. Other than just, I want to commend everybody who has volunteered and Jamie and her crew. It's another successful event, and I look forward to next year's remembrance ceremony. Only other thing I had was City of Happy Valley hosted the League of Oregon Cities City Hall Week, where they went over the legislative priorities, which incidentally you mentioned fees and charges for parks, and one of the priorities is recreation and immunity. So that's where you get into troubles when you start charging fees for the park use. So property tax reform, PERS reform, and transportation funding. But it's legislative day, so all those things are getting written right now. So there'll be more on that later. And just your weekly reminder, gravy, Sunday morning, 8:30 to 11 at the Legion. That's all I have.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My thanks to Todd and Chief Davis and everyone to make a truly a hard not to get teary event. Thank you very much. On the Canby Utility Board front, one of the blessings we have with power in Canby is that most of our power lines run underground, and so we tend to have very few outages. We do much, much better than the industry norm. Unfortunately, that's kind of a two-edged sword in that when we try to bring on an apprentice lineman, he doesn't get enough practice because everything's underground and we don't have very many repairs. So Canby Utilities signed an intergovernmental agreement with Forest Grove and McMinnville Power. We do around the papers, so we'll build a system. And likewise, if they have apprentices that need some practice on undergrounds and our switching equipment, they'll come on over and see us. So nice cooperation there between Canby Utility and other public utilities to get folks trained. Let's see, Canby Utility is also moving forward with their architect to draw up initial design plans for their new headquarters, should they need to relocate to 4th and Pine, and that's proceeding along with the architect. They're just doing drawings and getting phasing analyzed so they can do building and relocate in pieces that are affordable. Great. And then on the rebate, I mentioned that the last council meeting that Canby Utility continues to have a rebate. The time of year when we start getting some rain, we don't have as many taste and odor issues, but they do have a program where they'll reimburse $25 for a residential filter. You can do that once a year. And then with commercial filters, the program's a little more generous because they're more expensive. So just a reminder, that program's available. To date, only 112 residences have used it, and one commercial application, a restaurant, has used it. So it's there. Don't be afraid to use it. They'll take an Amazon receipt, print it off your computer. They're not picky. Just bring in a receipt and they'll be glad to help you out. It's not an actual cash rebate, so I can't go print receipts and walk away with cash. They'll just mark it off on your account once a year. And then finally, on the lighter side, I enjoyed visiting down at the Garden of the Arts a few Saturdays ago, right to Councillor Parker. We had a good time. Councillor Parker asked me if I have enjoyed pupusas, and I said, "What's a pupusa?" And he immediately escorted me over to the La Luz de Mundo food booth, where I got into a great, very enjoyable conversation with Joel and Sebastian. Unfortunately, Joel is a dealer, and he introduced me to my new recreational drug of choice, a pupusa. It has officially, I'm sorry to say, Cam, replaced fairground corn dogs. Those things.
That's a bold statement.
Oh my! I don't know how to describe them except that you bite into. It's flat. It's thick. You bite into one, and there is cheesy meat goodness.
It's a pancake cake with a meat mixture and then a spicy coleslaw on top.
Oh, it is.
You lost me coleslaw. I'm allergic to cabbage.
Yeah, you have to have one and run away. So it is. Wow. So anyway, my thanks to Joel for Papusas and to Santiago and to all the really great things they do there. And just to let everyone know that after their services on Sunday, La Luz de Mundo, just down here, down the road a little ways, they are open to the public to come on down and have lunch. You can buy lunch from them. They set up a tent after church and just enjoy a really good time and spread the addiction. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
So for the library, we've calculated all the reading program completion. So a lot more people sign up than actually complete them, as you can imagine. But adult-wise, 155 completed that, 68 teens, and 330 kids, although probably 800 kids signed up and probably got close, but didn't actually finish. So I liked library statistics, so I thought I'd share that. They're ordering 3 self-checks for the new building. So there's currently 1, so there'll be 3. So there'll be more of an emphasis on checking out your own materials at the new building. And then a couple other statistics. I thought this was interesting. We own 62,000 items at our current library, and 30,000 of those were circulated in August. Wow. That's a lot. So that's curious. And our service population, as you know, goes beyond the 17,000 of our city population. That's 24,000. So I think it's just interesting to think about that and reiterate that sometimes. And then, yay, October 8th is our big day, as you guys have said. The Canby Adult Center, they had their annual meeting last week. Not a whole lot new to report there. They're still working on their strategic plan. The school district, October 1st, this is school district related, A Taste of Autumn, the Canby Educational Foundation hosts 2 big fundraisers a year. This is the fall one, and Nancy Sebastian is there in the audience, and I know she's helping organize this. So it's on Lone Elder Road in the evening, 6 to 9 p.m. Tickets can be found on the website, Canby Educational Foundation. So it's a good time. The month award, the CARE Award in September went to Cindy Gonzalez, who's a custodian at Eccles, and so they gave her a send-off during the school board meeting, or they gave her some kudos, and yeah, it was nice to see her recognized there. Student numbers apparently are basically on target for what they expected this year. Middle school cross country is back, and it's larger this year, and there's scholarships available for kids that can't afford to participate, so they're pleased to offer that this year again. Head Start, there's one now at Trost, it's the preschool program. There's one at Trost, and it's been there for a while. Now there's one at 91, so they've doubled the capacity, which I think is interesting. So it's good to us to share with our citizens if they're interested. 2 of those programs. And then they had discussion actually with the new bus company. So as you've read in the newspaper, etc., there's a lot of concern over kids getting where they need to be on time, and the bus company assured the school board that they will in fact earn back trust and get the kids where they need to go. So that hopefully will be improving soon. The Canby Reads initiative, which the mayor and I have been talking about the last few months, is going to launch on October 1st. So that's a partnership with the Chamber, the Canby Center mostly, the Canby School District. They're a big partner. The City of Canby, we're involved a bit. So there's several things going on. There is the one-on-one tutoring that's going to be occurring in mid-October at night school. It's a pilot program, really. 50 kids will be chosen to be read one-on-one. There's going to be one elementary school focused on or showcased per month. We're starting with Trost in October. So kids will get this little passport, and they'll read 3 books, and they'll summarize what they read, go around to different vendors. Like there'll be 4 businesses around. Thriftway, I think, is going to give a donut or something. So here, give your passport to Thriftway. Here's your stamp, get your donut, yay. So it's great business partnering. It's just such an exciting program. I think it's been a long time coming, and here we go. So we're going to be launching that. It's very exciting.
It is very much
so. I'm
so.
very pleased to announce that. And then the Garden of the Arts was just fun. I took 2 of my daughters to that. And we got to actually make art on site as well as buy if we wanted. I didn't take my son. You can do anything. No, I'll just watch. Next time I'll actually. And then later that day, there was a Canby Cares event, which we had spoken of. And so that was at the Foursquare Church. And I have a few numbers. There were 191 people served, different medical, dental, eye care that day, 300 volunteers. So the volunteers really overpowered in a sense, which is a good problem to have. The churches banded together. They recruited far and wide. So that was really great to see. They estimated $25,000 in medical care was basically saved that day. So free services, great opportunity. So good job, Canby Foursquare. The 9/11 ceremony, thanks Todd. That was a good time as well. City Hall days, I attended with Councilor Hensley at Happy Valley. Very interesting. It'd be interesting to see the big reforms if they to be this legislative session. Kiwanis, I went to their lunch the other day. They installed a new president, which is Luana Hill, and the outgoing president actually is Todd Gary as well. So there's a changing of the guard there. It'll be exciting to see what Luana brings as president. And then Oregon Food Bank, there was a meeting the other day with elected officials and directors of the food bank in the county, and it was just kind of a nice roundtable discussion of what are food banks seeing, how can cities help them. And so out of that, Gretchen McCallum at Canby St. Patrick's, she's the leader there. I'll get in touch with her to just say, hey, do you want to come present and tell so I think it would be valuable for us to see who she's get a picture of what she's doing. So that was good. Yeah. And that's, actually, and Bob Canberra back there, we're going to approve him to the Traffic Safety Commission soon. I'm acquainted with him, and I just wanted to say yay, and thanks for joining that commission. That's what I've got.
Great. Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah.
Councillor Coleman.
Mr. Mayor, there's a Planning Commission meeting coming up on September 26th on Monday. There'll be a public hearing on an annexation request for North Oak Street. And a mailing has just gone out to the Southeast Neighborhood Association. There'll be an upcoming meeting to review a 105-lot subdivision on Southeast 13th, which represents the build-out of 26 acres, which was annexed in 2014. And Doug Thomas Association. Let's see, I also attended the 9/11 Remembrance. Fire Department does an outstanding job, and we sure appreciate that. On the traffic safety front, we had our last meeting was on September the 12th, and I just want to once again thank our Public Works Department and all the work they've done around town with striping, and to go over to Cedar Street and you see those new sidewalks and everything really improves safety a great deal. Our traffic safety chair, Bob Backstrom, and myself had the good fortune to interview Robert Canberra, and we're very pleased to have him be part of the Traffic Safety Committee. It's a really good, diverse group of folks. And I'd just like to share some traffic safety tips. Number one, be a courteous, patient driver. Allow plenty of room between cars. Plan ahead and allow extra time, especially when we're getting into the rainy season and the darkness. Be extra careful with pedestrians and bicycles. In fact, I think it's a good idea before you walk out, even in a crosswalk, to make sure that they can see you there. Avoid running yellow lights. Look before proceeding on green. And if someone persists in tailgating and aggressive driving, don't hesitate to pull off when you can do so safely. And if you can't, take down their license and description of the vehicle, location, and time drivers. Obey traffic laws. I can't think of a greater way that we can show appreciation for our police department is to obey traffic laws. And one of the things that parents need to do is encourage our young drivers to take driver's education. And in fact, check with your insurance company. In many cases, I believe you can get less insurance discounts if they complete that. And then also, parents, recognize your influence over your family. Set good examples. Obey traffic laws. Don't text while driving. Don't use a handheld phone while driving. And be a courteous driver. It's incredible when you're a courteous driver how much that comes back to you. And the opposite is true as well. Be patient when teaching young drivers. Encourage elderly drivers to avoid, prime busy times, driving in dark, driving in the rain if you can. And let's set a good example for the folks that are moving to our community that we want safe, courteous driving in our community, and that starts with all of us. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Thank you, sir. We'll move into the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the minutes of the September 7th, 2016 City Council regular meeting and the appointment of Robert Canberra to the Traffic Safety Commission for a term to end on June 30th, 2017.
Great. Motion's been made by Council President Dale and seconded by Councilor Hensley to approve the adoption, approve the consent agenda to include the minutes of September 7th, 2016, term to end on June 30th, 2017. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 6-0. Robert, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to serve.
Perfect. Moving into resolutions and ordinances. Kim.
The first item we have is ordinance 1446, and this is before you for second reading. It's authorizing a contract with Jarrett Walker and Associates, LLC, for providing professional services to facilitate community engagement and develop a transit master plan for Canby area transit.
Yeah, I think that the title says it all. It is an agreement with Jarrett Walker, and subject matter of the agreement is the behind the scenes to begin to schedule both the community meeting and the initiatory meetings between the consultant and interested stakeholders.
Do we have an estimated date yet on when the community meetings will be? Or will it be a community meeting?
We'll have several for different stakeholders, and we don't have a date. We're just now trying to pick the first date for the initial meeting with transit staff and transit committee members and me.
Maybe a recommendation, and probably already thought of, but when we did our city visiting piece, we were breaking. Again, if it's already been thought of, you can say taken care of, but just making sure that we get things out in Spanish as well as in English, and that we have interpreters available for those meetings. That would be helpful.
Make sure it happens if it's not scheduled. Given the thoroughness of this proposal, I would anticipate that it's been done, but I'll verify just to be sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
And this is something that I'm going to be following. I think this is an important part of managing and directing growth, is being able to project out where our transit routes are going to be and making sure that they're in sync with our policy and also the direction of where growth is taking place. The other thing that you pointed out, I think, for some outreach there, and that if there's one population that may not be aware of the dial-a-ride and that type of thing, it might be that as an underserved community. So I think, Councillor Height, you're the liaison to CAT, so if you don't mind me tagging along to that, I'll hang out with you and check that out.
Come on over.
Any other thoughts or questions? We covered this at our last meeting.
No.
So, okay. Great. Can I get a motion, please?
Okay. I move we adopt Ordinance 1446, authorizing contract with Jarrett Walker and Associates, LLC, for providing professional services to facilitate community engagement and develop a transit map.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Councillor Height and seconded by Councillor Coleman to approve Ordinance 1446, authorizing contract with Jarrett Walker and Associates, LLC, for providing professional services to facilitate community engagement and develop a transit master plan for Canby area transit. And it's a roll call vote.
Councilor Rocha?
Aye.
Councilor Parker?
Yes.
Councilor Hensley? Aye. Councilor Dale?
Aye.
Councilor Height?
Aye.
Councilor Coleman?
Yes.
And that carries 6-0.
The next item we have is ordinance 1448. This is authorizing a contract with Canby Excavating Inc. in the amount of $482,400 for Northwest Road sanitary sewer improvements.
Yes, we have a project underway as we're now facing possible weather conditions as we move it forward. The project does include the installation of a number of dry wells throughout the city, speed humps on North Birch Street, and road improvements, including undergrounding on the west end of Territorial Road between Holly and Birch Streets.
Thank you, sir. Questions, follow-up comments from last meeting at all? No? Okay. I'll take a motion for this one, please.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend we adopt ordinance number 1448, an ordinance providing Mayor City Administrator to execute a contract with Canby $2,400 for Northwest Territorial Road, Street, and Sanitary Sewer improvements and declaring an emergency.
I'll second. Even though it has an emergency, I'm closing it.
I'm sorry, what was that?
This one definitely has an emergency aspect.
You know how many Birch Street residents are asking me questions. I will say this is an emergency, so that they're happy.
So the motion's been made by Councilor Coleman and seconded by Councilor Hensley to approve ordinance 1448, authorizing contract with Canby Excavating Incorporated in the amount of $482,400 for Northwest Territorial Road, Street, and sanitary sewer improvements. And declaring an emergency. Roll call vote.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Kim.
Incidentally, I have a question for Rick. Incidentally, when is the Birch Street bumps going in?
They will go in as soon as we can get them scheduled and weather permitting. We would expect them in before the end of November.
There's at least 3 people that'll probably ask me before the end of tomorrow, so I just thought I would
You can tell them all that,
get an answer.
that the contract has been approved and that we'll get them scheduled.
Excellent.
By Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
We'll be thankful for them, right?
yeah, we have so much on this entire project. Initially on getting the drywalls in, as there are some very sensitive areas that we need to take care of, and then concurrently we'll be working both on Territorial and Birch.
Excellent. All right, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Great. Next on the agenda is new business, and it's the discussion regarding the city councilor vacancy appointment that we have coming up due to Councilor Rocha resigning. A couple of pieces just to stimulate dialogue. There were some questions that came out about filling of vacancies on the council. So in our city charter, under Chapter 7, Section 2, filling vacancies, vacant elective offices in the city shall begin immediately upon the appointment and shall continue until the beginning of the year following the next general biennial election and until a successor is elected and qualified. The successor for the unexpired term shall be elected at the next general biennial election after said appointment. So basically, we're appointing, they will fill Councilor Roach's role in his term, and then either decide to run or not run. So there's some question about did this need to be filled prior to this year's election? It does not. It's about the position will finish out in terms of question. Before we get into it, some history. So previous appointments we've had, we've had a process that we have followed, and so just give a history and then kind of dive into the options that you guys have to discuss this evening. We discussed this evening. In the past, we've had the posting of the opening has generally been for 2 weeks. Council reviewing of the applicants has usually been part of the council packet for a regular scheduled meeting, or a separate packet or review for scheduled special meetings, which was the case when I was appointed along with Councilor Rich Ayers. When he was appointed, that became a special meeting situation because there was a number of applicants and it was taken over 2 nights. Interviews were conducted and the decision was made that evening following the interviews. And again, when we went through, again, if it takes 2 nights, then the appointment takes place the second evening after, if we have that many applicants this time, as we did with Councilor Coleman, it was an interview and then conversation, and then swearing in occurs based on Judge Graff's availability, though that usually occurred generally in a meeting or two, and now we've got Joe that can swear people in. So before you...
I'll check and make sure that councilors could also be sworn in by me.
Okay.
Because if the charter says the judge has to, then...
I think it does, actually.
Yeah.
Does it? Okay. So the option before the council this evening, so if you want to take, is just that what we just mentioned has been the standard operating procedure for the council for almost at least a decade, at least that I've been involved. This year and time of year, we have an election that presents the council with options. So option one, follow what has been previously done. Open up immediately for applicants and set a 2-week deadline date and schedule interviews based on date set by council and availability on the agenda, or a special meeting could be scheduled by council to accomplish this task. Food for thought. We will not be able to conduct interviews on our October 19th meeting due to public hearings that have already been set in our agenda, which would mean waiting until December 2nd's meeting, which we also have a councilor excused to miss that meeting. We could then conduct the interviews before council meetings as an option, or schedule a special meeting for the week of October 24th to the 28th. The Wednesday that week is the 26th as an option. Other pieces to think about in this one, also, if the two candidates running currently decide to interview and one of them is chosen, and then they were to win a seat during the election, the 4-year seat supersedes the remaining 2 years of the appointed seat. So if they were appointed, so then we would be back to having an opening and then reconducting the interviews. That's option one. Option two, I'm wanting this opportunity. Close it after the election in case one or more of the incumbents do not win. They then could apply. We would conduct interviews and then vote for appointment. Food for thought on this one is that any incumbents that lose and want to interview will not be involved in the decision process for appointment. That could leave 3 councilors, so that would be Councilor Height, Councilor Parker, and one of the incumbents interviewing and voting to fill the vacant seat. That opens up the discussion of then waiting until after the swearing in of new councilors in January, so there then would be 5 councilors conducting interviews and appointing. Third option is for the election to fill the vacancy with the 4th vote earner of those running. Again, option or food for thought on that one would leave out people that are interested in this opportunity. I've had a couple of people approach me about stating that they do plan on interviewing if that's the route that we go. Questions or clarifications on this piece before we get into any conversation?
I've got 2 questions, Mayor.
Yes.
First of all, can we recruit when we don't have an opening? We have a proposed opening, but do we actually have to have a vacancy before we can begin recruitment?
Yeah, because he's put on record that he's going to vacate as soon as the is made.
Okay, so the fact, so that's not enough, is to create a vacancy.
Yes.
Yeah, you simply couldn't swear in the new person until...
Okay, I just want, we sometimes get stuck with archaic language in our charter, and I just wanted to make sure that the charter didn't say that we couldn't even begin the process unless there was a vacancy.
You can't replace a seat that isn't open, though. So there has to be a vacancy at least a moment before you fill it.
Okay.
We can do the interview
If there's a way around it, fine. But I just didn't want us to get hung up on some arcane language that wouldn't let us do it. Second, Mayor, what about the timeliness? Do you know any on this? I kind of like to choose this. The nuance about who would vote is an interesting one. Would Councilor Rocha vote?
Well, that question did come up, and that is, so his position, he is resigning his position. He could, based on his in his position currently, be involved in that conversation.
Okay.
Though
I just wondered if the question had been asked and
though
answered.
I don't. It has been asked and answered. I don't think, and in my conversation with Councilor Rocha, is that he would not be involved in that conversation for his replacement.
Okay. And what about the timeliness for making a decision on this? Do we need to make a decision tonight?
That's up you all to have that conversation.
Squeeze a decision out of me, I suppose.
Yeah, again, I'm just looking, if there's any questions or clarifications, I don't want to get us into deliberation yet, because we do have some submitted testimony that has been asked to be read into record, and so if you have a clarification piece that I can, no? Okay?
Can I go off of Greg's question of the vacancy? But the vacancy doesn't actually exist because he's here. I don't understand.
So he has stated that he is intending to resign his position,
Right.
which would create the vacancy.
Right.
So we can interview, knowing that we have this coming up, we can interview for that vacancy. We should just like and want to be a part of this crazy group until he actually says, I'm out.
Talk to Mike.
So if he were to decide, we set a date and he says, my last day will be X, it will then be vacated, and then we would be able to appoint.
Have you chosen an actual date then?
Well, my statement was that I would stay on until someone's found. That my idea was that once someone is found, that the day they get you choose, I would walk out of the seat and that person would take that seat. But I mean, quite honestly, in my head, I was thinking I wouldn't be here past October.
Right. You and I had a conversation about that.
Okay, so there's no because he's going to hang on.
That's
Definitely almost. Really. Okay. Huh. Okay. Is there a precedent for this? Has this ever happened? Where someone hangs on until the next... I mean, in all due respect, I'm just curious, when someone they don't
No, I
resign
think-
until the next person...
I had to go back to, I think, when I was appointed, I think John Henry announced his resignation, but didn't immediately.
Yeah, I think there's been a few that have resigned and said,
Yeah.
in a few weeks or a couple meetings from now.
Kind of gave notice.
Yeah.
And the notice says that we've done in the past, when we've had someone who's given notice, we're advertising for an upcoming vacancy. Not that it's vacant now.
Any clarifications? Before we deliberate, there was a letter that was sent in to me, to us as a council. I'll just read it as follows. So, honoring Mayor and City Council, my name is Robert Bitter, and I am a Canby resident. I am unable to attend tonight's meeting, so I am sending this testimony in lieu of an appearance regarding the timing of the appointment of a councilor to complete the term of Councilor Rocha. As a former counselor, I appreciate the demands of this position and wish to thank all of you for your service, and especially Councilor Rocha, who has had to balance the needs of his business and family with the demands of this position and found that to be untenable. To that end, knowing the requirements of service on the council, I highly recommend a deliberate process in finding a replacement. Specifically, I suggest you postpone this until after the November 8th election. On the council or wish to join it. All of you have given much thought to this and are campaigning to achieve this goal. If you wait the few weeks remaining until after the election, you may well have good candidates remaining who have expressed a desire to serve the people of Canby and have articulated it well. This should never be viewed as a partisan position, and I encourage you to demonstrate this by delaying the selection for a short time. There needs to be a variety of views on the council, for this is how democracy works at its best. To serve the diverse population that we have in Canby, I encourage you to seek this diversity in your body. Again, thank you for all your service. I know that know what a sacrifice you make every day on behalf of the citizens of Canby. Sincerely, Robert Bitter. So for your noodling pleasure at this point. So based on conversation and having some between a couple of you and having conversation with Kim in terms of protocol and things like that, this will this will be a situation where after conversation and whatnot, I will need a motion to whatever we decide tonight to move forward, or however we decide to move forward. So I just want to put that on the table now, and I think Kim has provided with 6 different possible motions that could be. I'm just kidding. But did I anything from staff encapsulated correctly in marching orders for the council? I'm seeing nods.
I mean, the charter is vague in that you're basically charged with appointing a replacement for a position. So, I mean, how you choose to do that and the expediency with which you choose to do that is more of, the body as a whole, how they want to approach that, given the proximity to an election that's, contested. So it really is a matter of what y'all think, basically.
In vague. Is it intentionally vague so that different councils can just make the decision based on different?
Well, if you had a certain time that you had to fill it and then nobody came forward and wanted to, that could be a problem. I think a lot of times they don't want exceptions. You were saying the same thing with the sound thing. It's like the exceptions to swallow up the rule and you not be able to function. So I think they want some flexibility. But it's a body that the idea is to try to come to consensus and kind of make decisions, and it's kind of like a jury, sometimes it's a little painful that you have to work together and actually find consensus. So, I mean, it's one of the charges of being on the body.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I think, I've experienced option 1 twice. And I thought it was a fair, reasonable process. I like the wrinkle to the option that if, let's say, some of the newcomers, including myself, if they were to want to interview as well as run, and if they were to win their contest in running, even if they might be appointed, the longer term would win out. So that I like that idea. The other thing I think we need to take into consideration is Councilor Roca's time. I mean, he's been very generous to this council, and I think time, in respect of his time, I think that's one of the reasons I think that we should, make this happen sooner rather than later in respect of his time. And I think even with that in mind, I think you can still create a very fair process. You create a deadline. People come forward that are interested. You have the interview process. And like you say, there's not too many dates left this year, and you get the ball moving down the field.
We've also experienced, you had your option 3, wait for the election, fill the 4th voter interview. We had that come about when Councilor Dale and I were in the process. There was an applicant. It was expected that she would discussion or how that's done that way. And it would have the appointment process with applications and interviews and such. So I think if we were to choose that now, it would be going against what we had said before. So
that's correct.
I think standard, the consistency and procedure, I think, should be respected.
Yeah, we did that. I remember that being thought of as a shoe-in situation when, in fact,
that we had a process. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying not to do number 3?
Correct. And the standard operating procedure, I think, is how you call option 1. And it's been, I think we should just respect the consistency of the process as we've been doing it historically.
I think business as usual is really against two opponents. It's very, I mean, the voters will decide the three, right? And for the sake of time, I think we should put it off. I agree. There's no rush. If Councillor Rocha wants to hang out for a while, great. Even if he wants to go, we don't have any major legislation that we need. Like, we need to make sure that we're all, all 7 of us are here and there's not a quorum problem. So I'd like to mull it over, let the voters decide, and then take a look at it. Yeah, good question. I guess in January, because looking at it in November wouldn't make sense because there's still people. It just depends. There's so many moving parts here, and it's complicated.
You're right. So after the election, deciding on how to fill that seat if that were to be the case,
Just
so
3, right?
yeah.
And you won't have a quorum problem as long as Mr. Parker's not at the beach.
Yeah.
3's not a quorum.
But Kim, three's not a quorum though for us. Or is it?
Yeah.
We need 4.
Yeah,
So we.
you could potentially face a quorum problem depending on the outcome of the election.
Well, if you have a vacant seat, though, it's a quorum, the charter says a quorum of the council.
Gotcha. Okay. So 3 of the
He would
5
have
would
to
be.
vacate his seat first to avoid a quorum issue.
Yeah.
And Councilor Parker, you're going
I'm
to
sure you'd
mind.
be willing to accommodate us on that.
You're on the decision
To wait until the election. To use Councillor Height's metaphor about moving parts, there'll be a few less moving parts after the election. So I think I'm comfortable saying let's develop a schedule in November. I would suggest conducting interviews. We could schedule a time and even schedule a date for appointment. But if having it post, I guess the one thing that I'd like to do is wait until the election. Voters have their say. Let the dust.
All the voters. I guess I don't understand that piece, but okay.
Let them speak first, I think, is what he means, and then we honor their wishes. And then the thing is, go ahead.
Well, I was telling the mayor about mansplaining. Now I'm getting female splaining here of having women explain what I meant. But actually, you're right.
So it'd be actually January before we'd have a full council to vote on the appointee then. Because if there's a shakeup at all in November, then it's like, well, wait a minute, this person shouldn't be voting on this. So that really puts it out till November, right?
Well, right,
Excuse me,
because
January.
Right, because again, like, so 2 or 3 were not to win, and how they interview and participate in the conversation. Now, if one of them says, "No, I don't intend to. I'm good. I don't intend to interview," and wants, then they would be involved. But
Yeah.
Mayor, do you have a preferred option?
It's convoluted. This is a sticky mess for we're in a thicket here. My opinion is, I think that Councilor Rocha wants off and wants to be doing what he needs to do. I'd like to see us continue to keep moving forward the way we've been doing things. But again, we are in a sticky spot with that for sure. So, yeah.
Wait, I don't understand the way we've been doing things.
Sorry, just to move, just post it. Let's post it. Let's interview. If the 2 people that are running want to interview, then I think that they should absolutely do that and be a part of that. I think option 3 of just filling it with the 4th vote earner, I think like I said, there's been interest expressed by 2 other people that want to interview for the spot. So I think 3 is out as an option.
Wait, what's 3 again?
3 was fill the vacancy with the 4th highest vote earner. So if it's 2 people and one of the other councilors,
if we decide to put it out until after the election, basically after the swearing in January, at that point, then we could take a look and say, oh, it was a really close race. Wow, the fourth one really should go in. And so again, I think the election results can really help guide us. You can kind of get a sense of the voters' wish, I think.
So if somebody, what if there is, so again, I kind of devil's advocate piece here, if there's somebody that wants to interview that isn't running though, then how do they then participate and get involved?
If we put it off after the election, then they'd be welcome to as well. So we don't make a mandate now and say it's the fourth one. Definitely let's look at the ones that do the department, but open it up to the group. In which case, maybe those folks should be participating in the forum that's coming up on October 20th, so that we can get to the community can get to know that potential candidate, because they're not going to be known or vetted by the community. So that's another piece too. You guys are going to be at the forum debating basically in October, right? So we'll know who the real candidates are. But if there's somebody that's coming new, like,
well, and that's part of the interview process, is where we do get to put them, you know, those that want to interview through a series of questions. We can ask them policy questions and budget questions, and how well are they prepared to step forward and fill this role, much like, you know, any candidates that are running.
Mr. Mayor, I think there's adequate time, and none of the councilors running have seen any of the questions that are going to be asked, and so if you put it out there that anyone that's interested to participate in that event, knowing that there's going to be an open seat, that would seem reasonable to have them on the panel as well.
Oh, you're talking about for the, well, that, and again, that's not our thing that's being put on. That's, yeah, the neighborhood association, that would have to be.
For the 3 seats that are actually being voted on by the voters, though. So it would be actually probably more confusing to have people who aren't on the ballot at the forum.
Okay.
maybe, yeah.
Find some consistent moving forward. Recommendation. Pull it and see if you have enough votes for a motion.
If you're up for a move forward, okay. Any other thoughts or comments or questions, or no? Then is there somebody wanting to throw a motion out on the table?
I move we stay with the consistency and go with option one.
Did she have a sample?
She
Yeah,
has
I
several.
was going to say, I think you
They're
have
all
that
the same.
sample.
I just left the date open so people could.
Yeah, so it would,
Oh, with an actual closing date in there.
yeah, so, well,
2 weeks.
And the clock doesn't start ticking until
It wouldn't go in the paper until next week.
next Tuesday. So the 2 weeks after that would be.
Calendar.
You wanted me to look at a calendar?
I've got one right here. So next Tuesday is the 27th. It would be the 11th would be the 2-week period.
so it would close the 11th.
Close the 11th, so we can do a special meeting on the 26th.
So, and then our next meeting is the 19th, which was the 2 public hearings,
We have
which,
one public hearing that night,
oh,
one
it's
annexation.
one. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So we have to go early, special meeting on that day.
Well, yeah, that day's. The option, or if that's the desire to do this route, then it's to pick a day. You know, that doesn't fall on the 19th. Again, if we have 7 people that are going to be interviewing, that could be a lengthy process.
Yeah, you don't want to do it
Mayor.
ahead of a meeting that's already scheduled.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad we have a certified EMT here, because Councilor Hensley may need it after I say this. But she actually changed my mind on this, that that there are 2 processes, that citizens are responsible for electing councilors. We, the city council, is responsible for filling vacancies. So it's our duty to replace a vacancy. And I think that is a separate process from a political election.
Okay.
Now, if we end up with a subsequent vacancy in addition because of our decision, then we'll have to handle it then. But the way I see it is that we have an obligation under the charter to replace vacancies, and citizens have an obligation to vote on open seats, and those are two separate tracks. And so I would be more willing to go along with Tim's concept of let's get this going and see what happens.
Can I respond to that? Then we're going to do it, whether we do it in 2 weeks, which, by the way, I actually think that's been too rushed, even though we've been doing it for however many years. 2 weeks is, I don't think, nearly enough time anyway. I would go back and, it's not in the charter, but I would at least make it a month anyway. 2 weeks to get the word out, like, okay, Facebook, great, but this is a big deal to just put it out for 2 weeks. I mean, I've known other appointments have occurred and people said, I didn't even know there was an opening. So, like, why didn't the city advertise it better? I'm like, yeah, well, what do I say to that?
Well,
That's another point.
It is. So I will say this. Todd resigned weeks ago. Okay, and it was in the paper already. That the announcement.
Okay, that's one.
Well,
right.
okay.
Go ahead. 2 weeks ago.
We've already got 2 weeks out there. I've already been contacted by 2 people that have expressed interest in, so they're aware of it already. So again, I don't. So by the time the posting closes, it'll have been a month that the position's been open and people are aware of it. Am I not adding that correctly?
Well, I suppose not officially. I mean, he didn't resign 2 weeks ago because it was still open-ended. I think it was a little unclear. That's another point, though. But right, if you're reading the Herald and you read between the lines, like, okay, we got to figure this out. But it hasn't been overt. The position is open. Here's the 2 weeks.
I believe the article in the Herald did state that the council would be seated to discuss the replacement and the process for Todd Roach's position. Okay. So I know Daniel's probably somewhere listening. I didn't commit the article to memory, but I do know that piece was covered, and I know that we run it subsequent to, I mean, it's run 2 weeks in the paper.
It's run 2 weeks in the paper in the past. It's put on Facebook. It's posted where we post all the agendas. It's posted on our webpage.
Okay.
And the application itself is not rigorous.
No.
The interview more so.
The interview is rigorous. We decided to make it. So, yeah.
Parker's comments that it's 2 separate events. You've got the election and you've got the filling of the empty seat.
Okay. So we've officially now maybe moving to well, it sounds like we're maybe moving to a consensus piece here. Am I
Well, let's
assessing?
find out with the motion. Tim, do you want to?
I can do that. Well, hang on. Do we still have a
2 weeks
date?
would be the 11th, I think you said. Right?
An upcoming vacant council seat with a closing date for application on October 11th. And if we move to that piece, then when would interviews then want to be conducted? Because that'll have to be in the.
Do we have to engineer that here?
Well, I would suggest the last full week of October, a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, 24th, 25th, or 26th, depending on the availability of all of you. That would provide a full week to prepare questions and know the direction that, and provide the candidates an opportunity to prepare themselves for whatever they feel they need to prepare for. And the form of the motion October 11th, because that would provide a full 15 days actually.
I would propose Tuesday, 25th, since Monday the dais will be full of the planning commissioners. No, Monday the 24th is a planning commission meeting.
It is.
Good catch on that, yeah.
We can just stick with Wednesdays, since we've been eating up.
We'll just stick on, yeah.
So the 26th is a Wednesday.
That works too. Okay, someone do the motion and Grayson.
Kim, do you need the interview date in the motion, or just that?
No, we can discuss that. When I usually
Conversations in administrative role. Totally. Well, but
and we've previously in the past, sent them the interview questions ahead of time so they knew they could prepare and how much time they were going to have.
You know, in deference to Councillor Height's concern relative to time, it would not delay the overall process if you extended the application submittal date to the 14th, which is the Friday of that same week. So it adds 3 days. It provides a little bit of extra time.
You still have
We would still have a week
Still
of
have a full week
applications.
afterwards. And
That's
you'd
fine.
actually have a full week plus 2 days to do it on 26th.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny how news travels. I mean, I know what Tracy is saying in terms of things that people come up to me and say, I didn't hear anything about this. But as a parent and an educator and a bureaucrat, my philosophy is that duration does not increase participation. There was a 1-hour notice about $1 burgers, and the whole town knew about it. So I think there's elasticity about the news and paying attention. And I know that we've held some appointments open for our boards and commissions for months, and that hasn't increased the participation. So this is our job. Let's get on. Let's do it. It may not be elegant, but it's something we have to do.
okay. Thank you, sir. All right. So I think we've dates ironed out, some direction. Somebody, you want to make that, sir? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we direct the city recorder to advertise to fill the remaining term for an upcoming vacant council seat with a closing date for applications on October 14th at 5 p.m. The term will expire December 31st, 2018.
Thank you, sir.
And Kim can administratively advertise the interview day, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
The motion has been made by Council President Dale and seconded by Councilor Hensley to direct the city recorder to advertise to fill the remaining term for an upcoming vacant council seat with a closing date for applications on October 14th at 5 p.m. The term will expire on December 31st, 2018, and the city recorder will, in the advertisement, announce the interview date of the 26th of October. All those in favor? I was getting there. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
One abstention.
And one abstention.
So that motion passes 5-1 and 1. No, sorry. 4-1-1. Okay. Thank you. It's not.
That wasn't the easiest thing you've ever done, Mayor. I appreciate you trying to dissect it for us.
Well, I ran it through a couple of filters, and I thought I had covered it, all the different options, but we're that close, Kim. I was that close. So I know it's a. Again, if this was like February, it would be a pretty slam dunk. So I appreciate the dialogue about the consideration of the election period. So we'll move on to the agenda then. City Administrator business and staff reports.
Nothing more.
Okay. Second opportunity for citizen input if they're so desired. I'm seeing this turn for the door. Action review, Kim.
You have approved the consent agenda. You've adopted ordinances 1446 and 1448, and I will advertise for the vacant council position with a application deadline of October 14th at 5 p.m., and interviews will take place at a special meeting the evening of October 26th.
Excellent, thank you. Joe, is there an exec session this evening?
There's none.
All right, and with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Todd.
The motion's been made by Councilor Hensley and seconded by Councilor Rocha to approve. All those in favor? Anyone still hang out? None. 6-0. We are adjourned. Canby, thank you.
If there's an exec session, it would have to have a code on it.